Hi, everyone. If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's the live stream, Hour of Empower. I'm so blessed and honored again to have Beverly Glazer with us. Our word of the day is motivation. Comments are wide open. We depend on your comments and insights to kind of direct us and make us as relevant as we can. And with that said, I want to turn it over to Beverly. Beverly can bring us up to date. Plus, the word of the day is motivation. So it'd be great to have everybody get their minds around what motivation means to you. And we'll see where we can take motivation today. So, Beverly, welcome to the show again. Share what's going on.
Thank you, Dawn. It's always a pleasure to be here. Yeah, let's get motivated. What I just did also is I live streamed onto Facebook because I'm connected as well. So the more this all goes out here, and I hope it does, it should be in my Facebook group. And if I am, hi everybody, and this is Don, and he's absolutely amazing. And yeah, so hopefully StreamYard has streamed things every which way as well as LinkedIn. And motivation, let's get motivated. I'll tell you, Dawn, yesterday, okay, the sun was shining and it was Monday. I love Mondays. I'm one of those people that say, okay, let's put it together, right? And but I'm in Canada, as you know, and it's November and it's kind of gray and gorgeous leaves have pretty well fallen. It's the middle of November. And yet, yesterday was gorgeous. Well, yes, I had all kinds of energy because the sun was shining. And it's just as simple as that. Because today is a gray day. And am I motivated? I should have been the same as yesterday, but yesterday I was pumped. Today I knew that I would be on the show with you, Dawn, and I'm always pumped for Tuesday. So that's motivation. You have to find something that gets you up in the morning. You have to have something, some reason for being. Um, Otherwise, like, why? And this is a big problem for people that are retired. If you don't have to do something, it's almost like, why should I? And you kind of lose your purpose. So you could be watching TV or watching movies, videos, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. What's the reason for getting up? You may as well get up at noon. So what happens here is we have to have a purpose. Every single day, there has to be a reason for us. And that's your why. That's your why. And that's how we were talking in the beginning, Dawn. It's like, how was your week, right? What's going on in your week? Well, what I was saying is my week, I really have to think back. Maybe I even have to check my agenda to see what it went on last week. Uh, I'm lucky if I remember what went on yesterday. Okay. Because the more we fill our schedule and the more motivated we are to go through and do, you just keep on doing. But you have to incorporate that why. That why is your motivation. And for me, I have a routine. And every morning at the same time, I get up. It doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter if I'm in Europe, it doesn't matter if I'm in China. I'll get up at my time, which is 6 o'clock. Is it feet on the floor, boots on the ground? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. I'm not motivated yet, but I will meditate and just put a sense of self, a sense of calm, and then start my day. And it's not a regimen that I have to be consistent with. I do have me time. I put in yoga. I do whatever it takes, and it's pretty well organized so that When it's boots on the ground and it happens to be like 10 to 9, I'm in it, I'm on it, and I already have it in place. I think that's so important, Dawn, to be motivated. You can't say, okay, go to work, go do what you have to do, just get paid, think of the dollar, and that should motivate you enough. It has to be your why. And it could be your family. And it could be because I want to save up money to go on a trip. And it could be so many things, but you have to put in place a something, a reason to move you. And for me, quite frankly, my brain keeps spinning. And that's why the meditation is really helpful. And also, when I hear noise, like pumped up music, that for me is motivating. And believe it or not, in the morning, I start spinning in my head. Am I really listening to what goes on to AM radio? No, but it works my endorphins and it gets me focused, believe it or not, with all the nonsense stuff that goes on. So you have to know yourself, you have to know your brain, and you also have to not think negative. But a routine for motivation is extremely helpful because otherwise, the next day, you only have so many hours, so many good hours, so many functional hours to work. So the next day, what happens is you've cut into time. If I get up usually at 6, do you think I'm going to be bright eyed at 6 if I went to bed at 1? No, not so much. And then what will happen is I'm going to probably eat more because I'm going to be tired. And then I'm not going to sleep well because I've eaten more. It's a whole cycle. So think about it. If you're looking for motivation, you have to find your why. And then it's not hard. It's not hard to start scheduling because you want to. It's intrinsic. So, Dawn, what do you have to say about motivation?
Well, I would just
Let's get going.
totally enthralled with your schedule and discipline towards getting motivated and being motivated. And when I think of motivation, I think of momentum,
Yes.
and like you mentioned, if you're retired, you lose your momentum because every day's like Sunday. Every day is the same pretty much. And pretty much just doesn't motivate you a lot because it's too easy to challenge you. When you have to do something, meet someone, go somewhere, do something, you have something to look forward to, plan for, prepare for, and get excited by being part of something.
Hmm.
And I think people just get so lazy, they forget what it is to challenge themselves, and simple things become an annoyance, right? And when they have to do something, it's an inconvenience. And pretty
Totally.
soon, life is either doing nothing and being comfortable in nothing, or doing something and creating stress and challenge. So the idea, I believe, is never to retire, but to redirect,
Hmm.
right? If you were spending 30 hours working somewhere, spend 30 hours volunteering or gardening or exercising. Just take your schedule, but keep you active. And active is so much better for motivation than passive. So, with that said, I know you deal with a lot of clients. What typically is the way you go about motivating them to change for the better?
I have a actually a terrific story. Okay. Because I was thinking of what to tell you about motivation and people, et cetera, just before. And I'm thinking of a client just that I spoke to last week. And this is a woman who she's corporate and she has a presentation to do. And she can do this presentation, she can knock it off. She has been procrastinating. She has not wanted to do this. And for the last 2 weeks, when we were talking, she says, Bev, I still haven't done it yet. I don't know why. I cannot understand why I'm not putting this together. It will not take me a very long time to do these PowerPoints. And I know I have to do this, and I know the date, and I know the time. And I said, well, what's the reason? What's the real reason? She said, I don't know. And she starts saying, well, maybe because I'm going to be judged and all that sort of stuff. And you know what? That, if we fear, is a real reason for motivation and procrastination. If we are afraid that we're going to be judged and you fear it, then you don't do it. You start thinking, oh my, I'm going to put it off. So I said to her, no, it can't possibly be that because you've done this hundreds of times. And she said, yes. She says, that's why I just don't understand why I'm not motivated to do a simple PowerPoint presentation. I said, you know what? I know what's going on in her family right now. I know what's going on with other things. I said, your mind just isn't in it. And she said, I said, when you come home, you every night you intend on doing this, but you don't want to do it because you're not focused. And this is the point. We have to understand that it's not just what we have to do, it's we have to clear all the stuff in our head to do what we have to do. And all that stuff seems like it's just trivial. You know, this is my family. This is the way my husband is. I have a problem with my child. The child's on the spectrum, blah, blah, blah. That's life, right? Well, yeah, but we take our life into our work. And interestingly, Dawn, as you were talking and we were both talking, okay, and is when I was putting together, because I do my program is Your Time to Shine. And it's generally women, and it's women of a certain age that are just ready to go to the next level. And this was for a man. And this program in particular is particularly expensive. And he thought maybe his employer will pay some or part of it. So they said, could you put together a PDF of what the program is? Well, I knew very well that if I'm going to put together a PDF, first of all, no one's ever asked me for this, but if I put a PDF together for personal development to give to your employer, the employer is going to say, why am I going to be spending money on this employee to give them personal development? If they want it, they should do it themselves. So what I did is I looked at the program and I said, let me see how I would make it corporate. And I put it together in corporate form. And all I did was change the language. It's exactly the same program, Your Time to Shine. But for corporate, it's what is it? It's called instead it's called Enhancing Job Performance Through Personal Growth. That's the program. And when I went through it, all it really is getting motivated through your personal growth, putting more job performance, getting not only motivation, but clearing your head so that you could put more energy into your job. It's all, it all works together when you think of it. Personal growth and your business and your quality of life. Everything goes together as long as you're clear. And sure enough, with for this client, I said, you know what? Maybe you have too much on your plate and your employer doesn't really know that. So you have somebody that can do a PowerPoint for you. She says, yes, I could. I just wanted to do it for myself because I know it's nothing and I know I can do it, but obviously it's not nothing. I said, yes, it's more than not nothing. Give it to somebody, get it off your plate. So you have to know yourself. You can't do everything, but you have to be able to see it's not always me. Be kind to me, be nice to yourself. And you've got so much going on. Don't say everybody has that going on. No, it's not about everybody. It's about you. And just what you have to continue to say, it's all about you. So don't, that's what I say to people really. Take a look at what your needs are. Don't beat yourself up. Why are you not doing? Is it fear of failure? This woman is on a huge level. All she has to do is do a PowerPoint, let's face it, right? And this other guy, the same thing. I never even realized how my program, I said to my husband, you know, look at that. He says, now you can go sell corporate. I said, I don't know if I want to sell corporate. But it's the same thing, guys. It's exactly the same. Whether you're in your office or in your life, you cannot separate that. You are who you are. And so it's not about getting motivated. It's why are you doing it? And then you'll be motivated. And if you say, I don't know why I'm doing it, well, maybe that's the problem right there, right? Maybe that's the exact problem. Okay.
Yeah,
Find your why.
and I think that's so important is really getting to know what motivates people in order to help in that motivational process. And again, every time we talk about words, we talk in relationship to communication, context. What can words do to motivate people?
Oh,
What can definitions of words change people's perspective? Because like you mentioned, yesterday you were pumped, today you were semi-pumped, right? And what changed? The world didn't change. And tomorrow you could be super pumped. And that's
or
the
not, or not.
well that's where motivation comes in is you got to pick yourself up every day and dust yourself off and get ready for the new day. Like you mentioned, challenges are going to come, ups are going to come, downs are going to come, but that's life. You can't just have a soft, comfortable path, and it doesn't work that way. So realism has a lot to do with motivation. Is Are you realistic about your motivation? Will that sustain you? Can you support it after a while? So at what energy level do you operate the best? Just like at a certain speed, you feel comfortable driving, and beyond that, you start feeling a little bit less comfortable. And all of a sudden, fear comes in, which is the enemy of motivation, or lack, or, insecure, you name it. And I think that's where coaching and counseling come in, is everybody can turn on the up switch or the down switch and live through that process. And the question is, how much do you want to change? And people who are comfortable, like we mentioned in retirement, are usually getting more and more structured and stringent in what they'll accept, what they'll do, because they don't have to do anything anymore.
Mhm.
When they had a job, they had to get up, like it or not, when they had a responsibility, and I think motivation changes with your situations. Sometimes you say, well, I don't need that as much as I used to. And now my needs have changed, and I got to get motivated to go back to school, to meet new people. But then how are you viewed, especially on a social network, when people are yearning for instant gratification? They don't want to just work at motivation. They want it to be delivered to them, you know? So in this fast-paced, dynamic, changing world, how does one stay nimble on the motivation ladder?
Yeah. I think, Donald, it goes right back to that why every time. You have to know what you really want. And like you say, we can fall off that wagon really quickly, particularly if you lose a job or a marriage or life doesn't work for you. It's so easy to say, I'm beat and what can I do? And this is something that I think we really lose when we start thinking of motivation. I'm thinking of people that really work. I'm thinking of a story in particular of someone who, really works at a minimum wage job, supporting four children. How do you get out of that? How do you pay the rent? How do you stay motivated to keep going for your $15 an hour job? And you have to pay the rent. And then somebody comes up and says, hey, why don't you invest in a house or a condo because you're paying more than enough rent? And you start figuring out a way how you can literally get more and more in debt, but you don't really know because you're trying to struggle your way out of your $15 an hour job, all that kind of stuff. How does somebody like that stay motivated? It's hard. And I'm using that as an extreme example, but a lot of us do exactly that. We get up in the morning, we do our job, we come back, we take care of our kids, and we're supposed to stay motivated. Okay. How hard is that? I mean, we're talking to people, yes, who can go to the gym, can go up for a run. Each and every one of us, regardless of income, has to find a little space in the day for themselves. And that can keep you focused and motivated, even if it is hard. You have to stay positive, not look at, oh, I have a lousy job. Oh, I'm only working for this. Oh, when you're positive, you can find a way. And I have so many stories of people who were not discouraged. But let me tell you, when I listened to their stories, I would crawl under a rock, literally, literally, and not come out. Okay. So they had the will and the determination to say, this is so not me. And when that's your why, when you say, I'm not being beaten, I have to figure out a way, then you're going to be motivated somehow, not just to pay your rent, not just to survive, but to find joy. And that has to be the why. It's like, if we're going to save our money. If maybe the kids are going to work, maybe they're going to do some dog walking or something, we could pull our resources together because we're positive. We're going to perhaps start cooking for neighbors and who knows what you can come up with. When you have a positive attitude and you take time and space for yourself, that's the key. You can't just keep going on that treadmill. If the treadmill's a killer. And the negative attitude, working for the man, working for the government, working for, that'll kill you. That'll really kill you. You have to say, this is what I have to do. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to make it better.
Well, I think you really cover a lot of ground there, and I think it's valuable. I see we're having an issue with LinkedIn today because Harvey and Kelly came through YouTube. I was just communicating. So I'll ask you the next question and I'll try to come back in about less than a minute and fix it, Beverly. So, this seems to be such a great subject and word because it seems like you integrate this in pretty much what you do with supporting your own motivation, but also helping others. So, when did motivation become a bigger element for you?
I never thought of it as an element until like this week, literally. Okay. Because um, what it is just making people better, Dawn. That's what I always do. Okay. It's not on a specific level, but if we don't have that passion is the motivation. We have the extrinsic motivation where you're going to the gym and you're getting pumped, and yes, you're going and you're losing that weight and you're feeling fantastic and yay. And that is coming from the outside. But when you're going to the gym voluntarily and you keep on going to the gym and you love it and you incorporate it in your life, that's the change. So when somebody says to me, oh, gee, you're so regulated, you wake up every morning and you meditate and you this and you that, right? No, 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 I'm not regulated at all. I cannot not do it. When I first learned meditation, which is pretty easy, and don't do what I did, which was back in the day, I kind of begged and pleaded with my family to get this family plan to learn this meditation program, which was really cool back then. And I couldn't personally afford it. And, my father said, oh my goodness, no. But my mother hoodwinked him in it. And it's like, it's a really simple technique, but he paid a fortune to learn it. And I was the only one that continued. Okay. Why? Because I felt result. I felt calmer. It worked for me. I still don't do it the way the Maharishi or all those gurus were saying. And I think once they started doing psychic flying and all that thing, they lost me. But the bottom line really is if you feel it works for you, it does. And I
Mhm.
will incorporate anything that works for me and makes me more productive. And that's what it is. It helped me so much raising my children and balancing work as well as raising my children and doing all the many things that I do because I don't lose it. It's like I don't go from up to down. And if I didn't do that meditation in the morning, let me tell you, I'd be a total basket case. But what you see is what you get. And that's all due to meditation. And I understand it's what they call a cumulative. So I've been doing it for many, 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 many years. And I cannot not do it. So is it a discipline for me? I don't think of it like that at all. If I woke up at 7 and put feet on the ground and started my day, I would not be as productive as if I woke up at 6 with a complete sense of calm and all my ducks in a row. So don't think of anything as discipline. It's the same thing. I don't eat meat. And you say, oh my goodness, you're so disciplined. I'm not disciplined at all. This is something that was my choice. And once you make things a choice, that's what you have to see. It's not complicated. If you own it, if you're pushing yourself beyond your belief, like the story I was telling you with this woman that couldn't do that PowerPoint, but of course she can do that PowerPoint. Perfectly easy. And she knows it. But if she's pushing herself and she starts blaming herself, I'm not motivated, I really can't, I don't have discipline, here I am, I'm having a coffee, I'm not focused, right? Let it go. Let it go. It's not about motivation. It's about too much. And so we can't just put things in slots, get motivated, get running. If it's not in you, let me tell you, running, that would be my worst exercise. For
Mhm.
me, no, I'm not going to run. No, I don't like it. Swimming, also, by the way, not so much. But yeah, going to the gym, love that. Okay. We know what's right for us. And if somebody's going to say, here, take this diet, you will lose weight, you'll take that diet and you'll lose weight. No question, just follow it. But what will happen after? Do you like all that food? Chances are no. If you do, you will keep it. And that'll become part of your life. So we have to integrate everything. And so you say, is that motivation? It becomes intrinsic motivation. When you want to do something, you will. That's simple.
Well, I think that intrinsic motivation really is valuable. By the way, LinkedIn's working again, so I
Yay.
figured that out. Thank you, Harvey and Kelly, for switching to
Kelly, thank you.
YouTube and sharing that with us. And I think that's part of motivation is knowing you have the collaborative network and team around you that
Oh,
motivates you to maybe stretch a little, knowing you've got someone supporting you and someone rooting you on will motivate you.
yes,
Sometimes two
yes.
people are more excited for what you're doing than you are, like relatives or friends. And, whatever you embark on, they're like, in your corner. And you think, now I'm working for more than myself. And I've got people that are depending on me or excited for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that instills more motivation. So you can never be too motivated if you're realistic. And motivation, is like a wave. It gets larger and it gets smaller. But every day you get a chance to motivate yourself some more. And you got to ask yourself, in a lot of ways, motivation is like fuel. What do I got in the tank?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I'm going on a 300-mile trip, I better have a full tank of gas. If I'm going to have a long day and a lot of meetings, how do I not only get motivated, but maintain my motivation? Why should somebody at 4 p.m. have to suffer for everything I went through up until then, when the person at 9 a.m. is getting the best Beverly or Don that's available? And you got to check yourself in the mirror. A lot of people are focused on their physical appearance, but not on their mood, not on their energy level. Sometimes it's like it's showtime. So when you open that door and you walk into that conference room and everybody's looking at you, how are they seeing you? And are you helping yourself get them in the right mood? Because that's where packaging and presentation make such a difference. Sometimes the wrapping and the box is better than the gift, depending on what the gift is and what the box is. But so many people are so enamored by the bow, by the card, by the way it was handed to them. It's all those little pieces that you create your own symphony every day wherever you go. And what kind of music are you playing? And is it pleasant? Is it attractive? Is it something people want more of? Because you're the messenger, right? It's the message that people will hear from you that will want to hear that message again. So, I think motivation is foundational to success. Uh, and, it's so easy in a social media environment to find motivation. The key is it relevant to you? So what's your thoughts, Beverly, on relevancy?
I think that's so well said, really, because you can find so many books and speeches and videos on how to get moving and how to get motivated. If it doesn't speak to you, you're not going to do it, but you're going to say to yourself, I should do it. Okay? This is what I must do. And as soon as we put those words shoulds and musts, you've already diminished yourself, because if you're not doing it and you know you should, what's going on here? Okay. So there's some disconnect here. And that's what you also have to see. Like, why? Why is it disconnected? Why? How come I cannot lose weight? Because I don't believe in those words cannot. I don't believe in the words that I am not motivated. I can't do it. I believe in what's the problem. And when you start looking at the problem and not just say, because I love cake, okay, that's why I'm not losing weight. Yes, that's it, right? Cake and chocolates and just about everything else. But the real issue is, maybe you'd like to, but maybe you do not. Maybe you're on the fence. I speak to many people about certain behaviors that they want to change. And there comes to a point where they're doing really well. And then after a while, it's like, I'm not so sure. And why? Because that's a change. And we don't know what we don't know, right? And so we fall back on what we know, unless you have somebody, like you said, Dawn, who will push you through that hump, because it's not all uphill. There are dips. And it takes someone else, whether it's a fan base behind you whatever it is. And social media can be very helpful. It's like you go there, you got it. It's wonderful to have a community that gives you the support that you need throughout whatever journey you're taking. And you can find not only coaches, you can find friends, you can find community. Community is wonderful, and connecting with people is absolutely awesome because those are the people that will cheer you on. And like I was saying in the beginning, not every day is a great day, but every day is a day, and you can make the most of every day. Boy, do I sound like a cliche, but it's the truth.
Well, you know, you're so right because everybody is a work in progress. And yesterday's accomplishments can't support tomorrow's initiatives, right? They can be learning experiences,
Mhm,
they can be growing experiences, they can
mhm,
be adding experiences where, hey, I've built the mountain up to this high. Now we're going to top it off with this tomorrow.
mhm,
And having a longer term vision get you through the short term challenges.
mhm.
And again, it's the people. How many times were you ready to quit and someone says, don't, just get some sleep, talk about it in the morning, or something happened and you want to address it. And it's like, where's the fire? You know, because once you quit something, what do you start? And what's going to motivate you to keep it going? You know, quitting is a momentum in the wrong direction. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so Harvey says, LinkedIn, I can't even see my event, may have to postpone. Sorry, not here in full, trying to fix the issue. Well,
Okay.
I fixed the issue, and I knew it wasn't StreamYard because YouTube was broadcasting it. And I'm sure Facebook is broadcasting Beverly's because that's how, when getting in detail, Kelly and Harvey notified me. When I said, well, switch to YouTube, see what's doing, they came on through YouTube. But what I had to do is I had to disconnect LinkedIn and reconnect it, even though the top bar says arrows, and if you hit on it, it says live. So you would think, but you know, I find one of the best answers to anything is disconnect, reconnect, because whatever it isn't going to change until you change it. Right? If it's not connected, it's like an outlet, it's not in the wall. No matter what you do until you plug it in, it's not going to work. So, but you know, I think that's the key to motivation. And I think the other element is, you know, what experience does for you. Because if this would have happened 10 months ago, I might have been flipping out. But knowing it's like taking a raft down the river.
Mhm.
You know, you never know what's going to happen at the next turn, but it also makes you a little bit more resilient. And I think the other part of motivation is people look at how you react to things when you didn't have a chance to think about it, right? I mean, how valuable are expressions worth when you see like those military people coming home and saying hello to their family, right? And it's like, it takes like 10 seconds for them to even realize that person's in front of them. So people look at you and not only what you do, but how you respond to what happens around you. And there's something to taking one's time, having patience, having tolerance, and reserving judgment that can maintain motivation because so many people see one red flag and then it's all over. They run for the fences, and that's the way it is. And they're too fickle. You know, they're too like a feather in the wind when someone says, it's okay, it's only today, it's only this, it's only that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think the key is not making a big deal out of small things and understanding big things take time and take thought. You can't read a 300-page book in 2 minutes, you know, so how and why would you? Like I mentioned even yesterday, how many people are rushing to get to somewhere where they have nowhere else to go after that? Right? If you know, if they and it's like a place that doesn't even have a time. It's not like a doctor's appointment. It's like Well, I got to go to the grocery store. Well, if you left in 15 more minutes, would it matter? Or if you left in 15 minutes earlier? No, because people are just anxious. They're just, they just can't sit still. They're so used to punching a button, seeing a video. Everything is 10 seconds, everything is 15 seconds. That really anything that takes time that you used to know you had to wait for, right? I remember when the newspaper was the big deal and you couldn't wait for it to get delivered on a Sunday. And then everybody had sections and, everybody pull out whatever they were reading and that made for a morning. Well, now today it's constant. And how do you stay motivated in a ever-changing, dynamic world? And I think that's through some introspection. I think, like Beverly says, yoga, meditation, whatever rests yourself and your mind in the
Mhm.
moment, get you back to where you need to be. And sometimes there's something about remotivation, right? You don't have to have everything in the morning. You could say, okay, I'm going to work with this. And when I run down, I'm going to take 40 minutes to exercise. I'm going to eat a nutritious meal. I'm going to enjoy a poem, whatever it is, and say, now I'm set to go again. You
Yeah,
know, it's the opposite of a prize fight or a boxing match where you go in there and for 3 minutes, everybody's beating each other up. And then you got like 30 seconds to refresh and get cleaned up and get ready to go. This is just the opposite. It's getting higher ground. So to go back to where the battlefield is, a little bit more rested, a little bit more prepared. And you always feel good when you're fresh, right? When you're freshen up,
mhm.
and I think that's important is what feels good will tend to build foundation for motivation. So obviously, Beverly, there's a process to being as motivated as you can. And I think that has tremendous value because feeling good is being good, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to be good if you don't feel good when you finally achieve or have something that you really worked hard for. So what can you speak to that about?
Well, it's all about mindset. And that's what you were saying in the very beginning. It's how you're thinking. And if your thinking is, I am going to do it, if you have the backup behind you, if you feel you're doing it for a purpose, if there is a goal, you keep on doing it. It's like, look how many shows you've done daily. Okay. Same with myself. When I'm a thought leader, putting out articles monthly or whatever it is, you know, you can say, hey, this is tedious, or where is this getting me? If you start going negative, 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 you're going to stop. Now, I cannot stop. And I'm sure you as well. Same with my podcast. I cannot stop. And things happen when you're not stopping. Things happen all the time. Look what happened to LinkedIn Live. Boom, it's off. Are we going to stop? No. If someone's listening on YouTube, great. If no one is listening, we're having this great conversation, Dawn. That's okay too. No matter what, there's always an upside. And that's what I'm saying. The mindset has to be not about quitting, not about losing, but playing the game and enjoying it. And as soon as you keep enjoying whatever it is, find the joy, whether it's in your job, using humor, enjoying the friends at work. Yes, there can be some negative people, but don't let those people ruin your day. Don't let them stop motivating you. Even if you have a horrific boss, think, okay, they have problems, but whatever it is, pivot, find a way to get over it. And that's the thing, all about mindset. Mindset is motivation. Find your why. Why am I doing this? Well, the bottom line is no matter what it is, it's to make you happy, period. We live to be happy. We do not live to work. We live for fulfillment. Find what gives you joy. That's motivation.
Oh, absolutely. And you bring so many valuable points up. And one of them is you can win many times in a day. It's not an absolute game. It's not I won or I lost. You could think of the things that went well for you, maybe weren't as important as the things that might not have. But you know what it is it's today's score, like today's
Mhm.
weather.
Mhm.
You know, you'll never see today's weather again, but you'll see tomorrow's weather, hopefully, and it could even be better. And then you could win and win again and win again. Well, let's say you had 4 meetings, and every meeting was a home run. And
Mhm.
you come home with 4 wins, not like I won today. I won 4 different times. And, you know, now that we're in the football season, you know, if the score is 27-13, no one minds giving up the 13 if they got the 27, right? They never even think, oh, well, we won and the opponents got almost as many. No, you won, you got more. And even the losing team might have been better at rushing, might have been better at some aspect of their game. And I think by really setting a low bar for yourself for success, what do you qualify for success? To me, just entering the game is something 99% of people never do. You've already won over the
Yeah.
people who never played just because you may not win against the people who do. And it's all relative. I mean, if you went golfing for the first time, you wouldn't feel jealous about the pro who's been doing it for 30 years and is like really shooting a good game. You'd be like, hey, I'm glad to be in their company. I'm glad to be around people I can learn from. And you know, when you acknowledge other people's success, you don't feel so bad about your failure. You know,
Mhm.
it's one thing about being a good sport and being a good person. And how many people are just, wow, that person just took a beating and they took the time to shake the other person's hand, pat them on the back. I mean, if you look at hockey games, at the end, they all line up and they shake hands. And these are guys and gals who were just killing each other just 2 minutes before and slamming them into the boards. And that's the key is resiliency, resourcefulness. You know, the people who go on when people can't are the ones who succeed. And it's not because they were better, smarter, stronger. They had more commitment. They had more grit. They had, you know, yesterday's word or was unstoppable or a
Yeah.
word we had, right?
I love that word. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so amazing how many people, and you're right, Beverly, if it was just me and you, it would be worth every bit of this conversation. And when you add another level of people, another big part, which maybe that's one reason I wasn't too affected by the LinkedIn hiccup, especially when I knew it was their fault. You know, it's a different when you just think, boy, what did I do wrong? But this whole program is the content produced will continue to be seen forever. And nobody will know that it wasn't live because they're not seeing it live. They're seeing it recorded in a sense. And what do we learn from this? What do we get better? Because, you know, it's funny is it's almost cathartic and therapeutic as things come to the surface, things come to mind that would have never happened without a Kelly comment or a question. And all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, I got some more clarity. I got some more visibility. And I've got some more tips on where to go next. And I think that's where coaching and training has so much is whatever you have, you have. But whatever you have with someone supporting you, you have so much more,
Or
right? It's like having an extra fuel tank or a turbocharger or something that really takes you where you need to go. And I think it's the level of insecurity people have that keeps telling them you're not good enough. You shouldn't have been,
Mhm. Mhm.
why are you hanging out here? And until someone takes you by the shoulder and says, hey, you're exactly where you need to be. And here's how I looked at it when I was where you are. And I think that's why paying it forward is so important and collaboration because,
Mhm.
I always know there's so many people here who have my back. You know, I can't tell you how many times Leslie sends a comment during a show. Is this okay? Is it, are you, she's, people look out for you because they know you're looking out for them, right? And 6 or 7 people together can do unbelievable things together. And I think that's the hope, is like, hey, am I earning my ticket on the train? Am I supporting people in order to continue to get their support? So there's a unselfishness to it all, and that's what reciprocal really means, is what are you willing to give in order for someone to be able to give also? And maybe not to you, but get the flow going, pass it along, see what they can do with it. And all of a sudden, you got a chain going on that's so powerful. So we've got Dennis here. Dennis was here from the beginning. That's enough.
Hey, okay. So he didn't lose, right? He was always here and he stayed
Yeah,
on the
he
stream
was.
for some
Yeah,
reason.
he was the first 2, 3 comments,
Hmm.
and he came through LinkedIn, as you can see,
Hmm.
because the people's comments who are YouTube are red, and
Oh,
Dennis is blue, so you know where they're coming from. And Dennis was here from the
interesting.
so somehow it was either working at the get-go when Dennis signed on and then blanked out somehow. And I think that's the nice thing about doing these every day, is there's tomorrow. If this was the only one I did in 6 months and there was all kinds of planning, preparation, and promotion, and then it like became like flat, it would be really challenging, and it may even encourage people not to do this who had never done that. Like I say, 10 months ago, I would have been pulling my hair out, maybe thinking, what can I do? And especially if you're sensitive to being live. But sensitive being live with who? With people and care and trust about every day. No one's going to, everybody's, even like Harvey says, well, maybe my show is going to be a challenge. And then not to, and also to give Kelly a plug with
Hmm.
Christy Howard with her awesome journey.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you never know. And here's what's so important about never knowing. When everything's working well, be grateful.
Yeah.
Most
I
people think
agree.
that working well is a default. You
I
know,
agree.
don't ever take anything for granted or anybody.
Yeah.
Teamwork works. We're getting back into flow.
Yeah, we're getting into flow now. Near the end, but we're getting into flow.
Yeah,
Yes.
roll it back, and I think that's the key. Is the comeback is always sometimes better than the initial success, right? So my
Right.
12-year-old daughter did not make it onto the town travel basketball. She was devastated. Then they had the idea to try out for the town next door and made it. I love this about her. So, and that's so important, is don't
Okay.
take no for an answer,
A-
especially,
a- Absolutely. Yeah, don't take notes for an answer. And don't mind me, Don. I just had to come in. That's the motivation. Don't stop. If it doesn't go this way, it'll go another way. If you just keep on plugging, you're going to find a way as long as you stay motivated. I love that, Christine. That's so true. And it's not just about loving her for it, but mom, you helped to do it too. And so it's the encouragement, it's helping people stay and for the love of the game. And it's not necessarily basketball, it's the game of life. So I love that. We all need support. And we need to also look at our wins, even if they're little tiny wins. Like LinkedIn did not work, but what did work? A lot of things. We had a great conversation. That's A. Dawn, you kept on figuring out what's going wrong. So more tech stuff because something will happen again, guaranteed somewhere. Okay. And you'll just know more. There's always a something if you find the positive somewhere. So we learn, and nothing is a complete failure unless you quit. I firmly believe that. And Christine, yes, your daughter, cheers to her. She found a way. And whatever the way, it doesn't matter. If it's not, if you can't make it in that university, hey, we can pivot, find another way. Just don't quit. Okay. If you quit, you fail. That's the only way to fail. So stay motivated. You have a love, do it. Keep on going.
Well, yeah,
Don't.
and that's so important, especially when someone takes it on their own to do it,
Mhm.
right? Where someone says, "Well, there's another door that's open over there, possibly." And you
Yeah.
know that perseverance goes a long way to maintaining motivation. Dennis says, "Better to be alive than dead. Don't give up and agree to be grateful when we can. We and agree even tiny wins are wonderful."
Wonderful.
That's a good word. Well, you know, it reminds me of a situation where my son was heavily, you know, still is, but heavily into sports. He was on the high school basketball team. And in 11th grade, he just wasn't getting enough playing time. And the coach was really against kids who were playing two sports because he wanted them to play just one sport. So, make a long story short, in the 12th grade, my son found a high school out in the mountains, Evergreen High School. And he would leave his high school, drive 25 miles through the mountains in bad weather when he was 16 and 17 to make it on the lacrosse team. Make a long story short, he became all conference defense in his first year and then earned a scholarship and became captain of the UNLV uh, lacrosse team for 3 years.
Amazing.
And then ended up coaching two state championships
Awesome.
and then went on to being the youngest general manager in professional sports and took 12 teams to the national championship and then became a worldwide coach. And it just became his decision and never even told anybody
Mhm.
that I'm deciding to do this. And I think just like Christine's daughter, someone who just believes there is something will find it.
Yes. Yes.
You know the saying, if you got a big enough why, you'll figure out
Yes.
the how to.
Exactly. Exactly. And don't let money stop you. I just have to add that. Money is a great excuse. I do not have the money. And then if I don't have the money, it stops you cold. You can always find the money. Okay. And since I've worked with drug addicts and all kinds of people, let me tell you, if you want something, money won't matter. Okay. The same here. I've had a client that came to me. Okay. She had been to AA and she wanted more. And when she came and I heard her story, Dawn, I could not have believed this was the same person. She came in like a rock star. She had those running shoes. This was a black woman. She was fancy. She had this phenomenal kerchief on her head. Let me tell you, jewelry. And she had a designer's bag. She was from really below the streets. And what did she do? She cleaned houses for a living. Now, I looked at this anomaly. And sure enough, okay, how did she come to me? I'm not, we have Medicare here. I'm not in the system. Okay. You have to pay me out of pocket. Well, she said AA is not for her. She spoke to her employer, and that's where she got her designer's bag. Okay. That was given to her by her employer. Anyway, bottom line is her employer said, I believe in you. Her employer was giving her the funds to come and see me. Okay. And later I did reduce her fees, okay, which I never really do for a simple reason that people, believe it or not, if you give anything free, how many things have you gotten free that you've never done, right? Lots. How many programs have you paid for that were given out, right? Just get this program and be on my mailing list that you've never done, right? No, you have to charge something. But for her, I made it in such a way that she could see me. She always kept her appointments. She thrived. And so, what I'm saying right here, I'm not going on with her story, but I can tell each and every one of you, do not let I cannot afford it stop you. If it matters to you, you will find a way. My goodness, I've said to myself so many times, how can I pay for? Guess what I did? And I never looked back if it was investing in myself. So take a look. Okay. Let nothing stop you. If you have that motivation like your son, nothing stopped him. He did it, Dawn. He knew. And it's the same thing with this woman. And I called her the rock star. I said, this is, no. And she did not identify with being a house cleaner. That's for sure. Okay. And that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But if you have it within you, boy, you can shine. And keep being motivated. Find your why and believe in your why, and you can do it.
Yeah, and that's why they call the definition of a big shot a little shot to keep shooting, right? And I think that's so important is everything you do can go towards eventually getting something done. And there's pride in looking back and look at the hard work. I mean, there's so much sacrifice that takes place, and at the time it looks like a hardship. And
Mhm.
later on, it was so instrumental in giving you that opportunity to pivot. You
Yeah.
know, I knew the Home Depot guys when they first launched Home Depot, and that was a while ago. Bernie Marcus and the gentleman Arthur Blank, who owns the Atlantic Falcons now, uh, they were fired both at the same day because no one wanted to hear about their crazy ideas of a warehouse club. And eventually they opened. And if you look at the documentary, when they opened, they had so little money and so little
Mhm.
inventory that they went out and bought a ton of empty boxes and have their employees the night before put them together and tape them. There was nothing in them and stack all the warehouse stuff full of these empty boxes. And that's what people do is they innovate. They take what little they have, make a little bit more out of it, and it stretches.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
keep stretching, eventually it comes into its own. So that's, again, being with a coach, being with a group that can share, here's how you can overcome it, and it's not an issue. It's like, okay, that's interesting, but we got a solution. And
Mhm.
whatever it is, there's a saying, start with who you are, where you are, with what you have, because that's all you're ever going to have to get started. But
I
once you
love it.
start, the picture changes. And eventually you'll find you'll end up somewhere you never planned on, but it was something that redirected. Uh, Christine is thankful. I'm glad you came in when
Me
the show
too.
was available. I was wondering who comes in at what time, and that would determine. Thanks,
Yeah.
folks. This
When
shot.
everything worked.
And thank you, Christine, for the wonderful motivational comment about your daughter, which continues to motivate people. What Beverly's story was, what Christine's story, that's a motivation. If they can do it, if it happens, maybe it could happen for me. Agree, good rock stars get on a roll. Well, thank you, Dennis. You're the only guy or person who could get on when nobody else would. So
Yes, that's amazing.
super win if you can figure that out. It's worth a lot to a lot of people. So with that said, please come back tomorrow. I'll tell you who's here. And then tomorrow is Wednesday, and I'm looking for my calendar to populate right now. Oh, it's Carl Dakin coming in tomorrow. And actually, Carl's, is part of this new collaboration group. So I'm excited to get going with
Great.
that too. And so thank you, everyone. I know it's been interesting for all of us. And go get motivated, do something you were thinking about doing, but haven't had an opportunity. And then come back tomorrow and tell us all about it. So, with that, thank you so much, Beverly. Final thoughts
Thank
on.
you. Just find your why and just keep on going. Keep pedaling. Keep going.
Well, sounds great. You were super duper today, especially navigating through these technical issues at times. But you always do it with grace and a smile, and I think that's motivational in itself. So thank you, Beverly.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Don.
audience.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.